drop you like Cain, like Cain dropped Abel. I'm about to drop you like Cain. You better hope it takes you. I'm about to drop you like Cain. I had enough of your voodoo. I'm about to drop you like Cain. You better hope it takes you. Up to Sodom, your Gomorrah, delivering redemption. Feel my resurrection. I'm about to drop you like Cain, like Cain dropped Abel.
God, I hate South Carolina. Not many Georgia fans do, though, but I particularly hate South Carolina. This is a story I've told 100 times on here, but I live in Augusta, Georgia, which is on the border of South Carolina. So growing up, I knew quite a bit of South Carolina fans, and even before I was into college football like I am now, back when I was a kid, really, going up through middle school and high school or whatever, every year for the Georgia-South Carolina game, we'd all get together as a group of friends or whatever, some South Carolina fans, some Georgia fans, and we'd watch this game. So every single year, you know, and this is something else I've said a bunch of times. If you were to tell me Georgia's going to go 1-11, I want that one win to be against South Carolina. Again, I'm in a very small minority of Georgia fans who would feel that way. You know, most are going to say Florida or Georgia Tech or Auburn or maybe Tennessee if they live in the North or whoever. But man, if Georgia's going to go 1-11, let it be against South Carolina. The good news is Georgia ain't a 1-11 program. Now, South Carolina's got a bunch of 1-win seasons and 0-win seasons and everything else because they've just been garbage for their total existence, right? 0 SEC titles, only ever won the East one time. When they did, they took the worst beating in SEC championship game history. Thank God for that 1969 ACC title those idiots hold on to. But anyway, it got me thinking, I am a little sad. This is the last year of Georgia versus South Carolina playing every single year. And it's been that way for a long, long time. And it's a little sad to me. Now, again, most Georgia fans could care less and won't even notice that we're not playing South Carolina every year from now on. It's going to go to most likely a rotation, an every other year thing, probably with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma and divisions going away and all that. But I'm going to miss it. I enjoy Georgia's annual beating of South Carolina. I do. Now, it's not a rivalry game. It's just not. That makes South Carolina fans mad to hear because South Carolina fans both consider this a rivalry game and desperately want it to be a rivalry game. The reality is it's just not, it never has been. Georgia's got 3 rivals, Georgia Tech, Auburn, and Florida, not South Carolina. Now, it's no big deal generally speaking, it's no big deal whether you consider one particular team a rival or not. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. The problem if you're a South Carolina fan is you ain't got no damn rivals. South Carolina is so bad that there's not a single SEC team who considers them a rival. Not one. Not a single one. They've got Clemson, and yeah, South Carolina's perfectly happy beating their in-state rival Clemson once a decade or so and losing, 9 out of 10 to them. That makes them happy. But there's not a single SEC team that looks at South Carolina and goes, now that's a rival. Not one. Not one. You're just not on that level. Historically, recently, or currently. Just no one. Nobody. You know what the closest thing to a rival South Carolina has in the SEC, in my opinion? Missouri. A team that's only been in the SEC for 10 years. And other than the fact that they tend to beat you more often than not, which I know makes you mad. But other than that, why is that game a rival? Well, it's really a battle of the Columbias. Columbia, Missouri versus Columbia, South Carolina. Now, Columbia, South Carolina is an absolute shithole. So in terms of just city versus city, I've never been to Columbia, Missouri. It would be hard for me to imagine that it's somehow worse than Columbia, South Carolina. You're talking about the absolute armpit of a state that in general is in the toilet. Outside of maybe the Charleston and Hilton Head area, there's approximately zero reason to ever even stop in the state of South Carolina. If you have to drive through it, so be it. Don't pull over, don't stop. If you got to go to the bathroom, wait till you cross a state line. It's just a horrendous and horrific state. Columbia is bordering on, it's like a third world country there. Their campus is in the middle of some concrete jungle. First of all, Columbia, South Carolina might be the worst capital city in the United States. That's number one. And the University of South Carolina's campus is slap dab in the middle of it. Concrete jungle. It's old. The campus I'm talking about. The campus is old, dirty, and dingy looking. The stadium is located across from some old abandoned fairgrounds. So when you go there, you have like that constant like that constant smell of fried butter from the fairgrounds mixed with the smell of decades of disappointment emanating from Williams-Brice Trailer Park where South Carolina plays their home games. It's just a disgusting, there's just no reason to be there. It's just a terrible place, Columbia, South Carolina. They've had two of the best coaches in the history of college football. If you were to make a list of top 25, maybe you have Lou Holtz and Steve Spurrier, they go to Columbia, they can't win nothing. They go to South Carolina, they can't win anything. Bring in Shane Beamer. You know what Shane Beamer is? Shane Beamer is like somebody that they just add into a movie as comedic relief. You know the movie The Hangover, where the group of guys go to Vegas for a bachelor party and they got the fat retarded guy that they let come with them? That's Shane Beamer. He's not fat, but my point is he's just there for comedic relief. The SEC, Shane Beamer is the SEC's version of the fat guy, the fat retarded guy from The Hangover. He's there for nothing but comedic relief. This guy tours around the SEC every fall with his stand-up comedy routine where he comes out in press conferences and constantly makes a babbling idiot out of himself. It's must-see TV. I don't typically watch coaching press conferences because you know how these coaches are. They talk for 30 minutes without saying a word. And while that may also be true for Shane Beamer, it's just absolute it's like a stand-up comedy routine when he comes out. You never know what dumb shit he's going to say. He's goofy and quirky and just a fucking oddball, Shane Beamer. And then, of course, you got the thing from the North Carolina game, which, look, I had so much fun with Butch Jones on here when he was the head coach at Tennessee. He's the closest thing I've seen in the SEC to what we have now with Shane Beamer in terms of post-game press conferences. You just never knew what kind of dumb shit Butch Jones was going to say, like the constant excuse making, with the 5-star hearts and, our guys are getting mental reps and brick by brick and group of individuals. It was just, listening to him, it was just, you would watch him and you would go, this guy's just fucking weird. And you get the same vibe from Shane Beamer, but I never saw Butch Jones blame chain crews or hot dogs for humiliating losses. This thing with Shane Beamer coming out after the North Carolina game and being mad that the start of the third quarter was delayed for 30 seconds because the chain crew was 30 seconds late getting to the sideline because, in Shane Beamer's words, they were busy in the tunnel eating a hot dog, has got to be one of the worst post-game press conference coaching lines I have ever heard in my 40-something years on this planet. If I was a South Carolina fan, I would have ripped my own head off had I heard my coach say some dumb shit like that. If there was something that could go wrong for South Carolina in that North Carolina game, it went wrong. And to come out and here's the thing, he goes, well, the chain crew, the clock was wrong the whole game. The chain crew was late coming out after halftime because they were stuck in the tunnel eating a hot dog. Everything, other than that, everything went fine. What? I don't know what game he watched. And here's the thing. That complaint that he was making about the chain crew coming out after halftime and being late, delaying the start of the third quarter, the reason he was mad about that is because South Carolina, of course, was attempting an onside kick to start the third quarter to try to jumpstart their fucking bag of potatoes that they call an offense into doing something against North Carolina in the second half. And here's the thing, it worked. They literally recovered the onside kick. It's not like they lined up in some new or different or tricky formation. North Carolina got fooled. South Carolina's trying to hurry up and kick the ball before North Carolina can adjust. But, wait, they can't kick off yet. We got to wait on the chain crew to come out and eat a hot dog, and it screwed everything up for South Carolina. No, that's not what happened. They lined up like they always do. North Carolina had no idea what was coming. They could have waited another 7 or 8 minutes. North Carolina wouldn't have known. South Carolina kicks a perfect onside kick. They recover it. That was literally the best thing about South Carolina in that entire game, was that one onside kick. So for this fucking doofus, this fucking one-man variety show to come out after that game and say everything was fine except for delaying the start of the third quarter. The same thing happened last year in the Georgia-South Carolina. Well, not the same thing. A similar thing happened in the Georgia-South Carolina game last year at Columbia. If y'all have ever been to a college football game, you'll know what I'm talking about here. But during almost every single TV timeout at a football game, somebody or some group of somebodies is brought out onto the field. Some guy is standing there with a microphone. He announces who they are and why they're being honored for whatever reason it is they're being honored. Maybe it's some professor at the school who won an award. Maybe it's a student who won some research competition. Whatever it is. If you've ever been to a college football game that was being televised, you know what I'm talking about. You can tell when they go to a TV timeout because the teams are standing around with their thumbs up their butt, and somebody from the university will march somebody or a group of somebody's out on the field. They'll say their little speech. The people will wave. The crowd claps, and that's it. Well, last year in Columbia, the Georgia-South Carolina game, they were honoring some women's group or some women's something. I don't know. Or care because it was South Carolina. But they were honoring some group of women for something in the end zone during a TV timeout. Well, we come back from TV timeout. South Carolina's ready to run a play. The women, or whoever this group of individuals, as Butch Jones would say, are still in the end zone. So the referee has to come running up, stand over the ball, put his hand up in the air like, wait, and they're pointing. The cameras pan over, and you see just this big group of people that's still in the end zone, and they're trying to get them off the field so play can resume. Shane Beamer on the sideline runs 10, 15 yards onto the field down towards the end zone. He's yelling and screaming and pointing. And then after the game, he had all kind of shit to say about it. In a game that South Carolina lost, what did we beat them last year? Like 48-6 or something? 49-7. I mean, we beat them by like 40 points. And he's mad because the TV timeout took a little bit too long. This guy's priorities are so out of whack. It's not even funny. I tried to make some notes on some different things to talk about in this video, but honestly, it's the same dumb shit that everybody already knows about South Carolina. Their only rival is an in-state school, Clemson. They have no SEC rival. There's not an SEC team in the country who would look at South Carolina and go, yo, man, hope we beat South Carolina. That's our rival right there. Nobody. I like to beat South Carolina because I live next to a bunch of you fuckwits. And I just honestly don't like the majority of you. That's not necessarily. I took that a little bit too far. I do like you. Y'all are just dumb as fuck when it comes to football, and your team is god-awful and horrendous. And every time I watch South Carolina play, it makes me wonder how the hell we got this far as a society, because the absolute band of dummies that y'all send out onto the field year after year to attempt to play SEC-level football is obviously embarrassing, not just to the SEC, but to all of organized sport across the world. Y'all are a joke. An absolute joke. We'll give some credit here. These South Carolina fans will just keep showing up. It don't matter how bad they are. These fans absolutely love that South Carolina team. South Carolina has had 2 or maybe 3 good seasons in the history of their program. Okay? And these fans just show up. They're there. So, credit to the fans, I guess. Y'all are diehard and loyal. It doesn't matter how many piles of poop get shoved down your throat by that athletic department. Y'all keep showing up and asking for seconds. Wow, that's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. Let's talk about South Carolina's team this year. Spencer Rattler, my God, this guy transferred in last year from Oklahoma, and you'd have thought every single South Carolina fan on the internet had won the Powerball. Oh my God, we have a 5-star. They didn't know what to do. They didn't have a clue. Season starts, Spencer Rattler looks like he doesn't know what he's doing. He looked like every other South Carolina quarterback I've ever seen. Now, to his credit, he got a little bit better in the second half of the season, and by some miracle that I'll go to my grave not understanding, South Carolina even found a way with Spencer Rattler to beat not 1, but 2 top 10 teams to end the year last year, Clemson and Tennessee. Congratulations. Spencer Rattler looked pretty good in that game. They, of course, came out and got humiliated by Notre Dame in a bowl game that nobody watched. And even though you lost to North Carolina this year and looked like complete shit in the first half against Furman or whatever you played the other day, Spencer Rattler, I think, has actually played well this year. You can't really point at Spencer Rattler as the problem for South Carolina this year, can you? No, not really. You know what the problem is? Everything else. Everything else. You had the worst rushing team in the SEC last year. You're on rinse and repeat mode on that this year. You couldn't stop the run last year. Rinse and repeat mode this year. You guys are absolutely horrific. And it's almost to the point now, do you know how bad a team has to be to where people are sitting around going, man, feel bad for Spencer Rattler? Because nobody feels bad for Spencer Rattler. Nobody liked him. He's cocky, arrogant. He was on that TV show. When he was at Oklahoma and he got benched, he's over there pouting and moaning and bitching and pitching a fit on the sideline because he wasn't any good. He comes to South Carolina. He's the best thing they've ever had. They're worshiping him over there. He comes out. He sucks asshole for the first half of the season. Anyway, so you can't really blame him. He's been okay. You know what the problem is? You got these players transferring out. It's great you got Spencer Rattler to transfer in, an unproven jamoke. It's great you got him to transfer in. But the problem is transferring out. You can't run the ball. Meanwhile, Marshawn Lloyd's at the real USC. The real USC, the one on the West Coast, the one that actually can put a decent football team together every who and again. He transfers to the real USC. He's out there averaging 8, 9, 10 yards a carry. I told South Carolina dummies all offseason, I said, y'all are going to miss Marshawn Lloyd and Jaheim, but, we need him, woo. Do you have any idea how dumb you have to be as a South Carolina fan to think that there's ever a scenario in which you don't need the services of someone as talented as Marshawn Lloyd or Jaheim Bell? You have to be like a machine keeping you alive level dumb. I'm talking total vegetable here. In order to actually believe that shit. That South Carolina has somehow gotten to a level as a program where they don't need somebody with the talent of a Marshawn Lloyd or Jaheim Bell? Y'all are out of your fucking minds. Oh, well, they stayed injured too much, woo. That doesn't mean they would have been injured this year, idiot. Y'all's running back situation is, I don't get, now look. Let me back off the running backs a little bit. This offensive line now. Y'all might could have Barry Sanders, Bo Jackson, Herschel Walker, and what's his name from Oklahoma? Darren McFadden. No, he was from Arkansas. Who's the one from Oklahoma? Anyway, y'all could have like the best 4 or 5 running backs in the last 30 years. I don't know that it would matter. Do y'all even have an offensive line? I'm dead serious. I'm assuming there are 5 people that y'all trot out onto the field that play the positions, but could you even really consider it an offensive line? It's really just 5 fat people hunched over. That's all it really is. It's really 5 fat people hunched over who like walking backwards. I mean, come on. That's basically what it is. 9 sacks South Carolina has given up to North Carolina. How in the... I don't understand how it's possible to get sacked 9 times, and that's basically a sack per drive. The odds of that happening to anybody are astronomical. The odds are almost better that South Carolina will turn into a decent football program over time than they are of a team getting 9 sacks against the same quarterback in the same game. But you somehow figured out how to accomplish that. Again, I can't believe I'm saying it, but I almost feel bad for Spencer Rattler. I almost feel bad for Spencer Rattler. I had somebody tell me the other day, because they knew this video, I was getting ready to make this video, and they said, Lou, you better be careful talking about Spencer Rattler. I said, why? He said, well, you've been riding Colorado, and, people are saying you're racist because you don't like Colorado. And I was like, it's okay. First of all, those people can, go fuck their mothers. Second of all, what does that have to do with Spencer Sanders? And they're like, well, or Spencer Rattler. And they're like, well, Spencer Rattler's a black QB. If you go on video and say he's not any good, people are going to say, Lou's just saying that because he's black. Spencer Rattler isn't black. What are you look? He's khaki. Okay? What are you talking about? So if anything, you can say I'm racist against khaki people. But no, that's not it. It's just that I don't particularly like Spencer Rattler. I don't like his attitude. I don't like his demeanor. I don't like his personality. I don't like the fact that he's so fucking dumb. He thought it was a good idea to transfer to South Carolina. I just don't like him. It's got nothing to do with the fact that he's khaki. I've got no problem with khaki people. Type about it. I'm done caring. What else? 1969 ACC champs, -2 yards rushing against North Carolina. Sometimes -2 yards rushing in one particular drive. Maybe things go just horrifically bad. You end up with -2 yards rushing maybe at the end of a half. How do you have -2 yards rushing after an entire game of football? I don't know, but you managed to find a way to do it. Shane Beamer's comedy routine when it gives a shit. Fucking the hot dog thing is the funniest to me. You know what it is? Here, look. So far, let's sum up South Carolina's season so far. So what'd you beat? Where is it? Here it is. It's the only fucking thing you can beat. Beat the goddamn. You beat whatever that is, okay? Congratulations. You beat the Furman Paladins. You played this team and got absolutely humiliated. Just destroyed. This team had one of the worst defenses in the Power 5 last year. You had -2 yards rushing. And your head coach comes out and blames fucking hot dogs. Well, so you're 0-1 against hot dogs. You're about to be 0-1 against this hot dog. Because not only is Georgia going to win this game, they're going to absolutely destroy South Carolina. And Uncle Lou, yet again, is going to destroy the South Carolina fan. And I know it makes you mad. And while I'll miss doing these videos every year for South Carolina, I'll have to settle for doing them every other year. In the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal because the Georgia-South Carolina game is just not a rivalry. Georgia just doesn't view it as a rivalry. South Carolina has no conference rivals. There's not a single team in the SEC that looks at South Carolina as a rival. Not one. Not a single one. You've got the in-state deal with Clemson. They're in the ACC. And like I said, all they do is beat you like you're a runaway orphan. I mean, we beat them last year, woo. Yeah, I know. If I give Shane Beamer a 10-year extension and $100 million, give him a Mel Tucker contract. I'm telling you something about Shane Beamer. And look, this fucking routine that he's got or whatever, this shtick, has he made any more TikTok videos lately, by the way? You remember that dumb shit? Has he done? If South Carolina at some point this year, because it won't be this weekend, but if at some point this year they pull another rabbit out of the hat, some sort of miracle, and a terrible, just garbage can South Carolina team finds a way to beat some decently ranked team, and Shane Beamer wants to show up in the post-game press conference and do his stand-up comedy act or juggle or whatever the fuck clown routine it is he's got going on. I wouldn't necessarily want my coach acting that way. But if he's going to do it after a big win, hey, you earned it. You went out, you got your big... To do that shit after a loss is fucking sad. It's fucking sad. He's a fucking goofball. I guarantee you, you know what Shane Beamer is? And this is why he fits in so good at South Carolina. I guarantee you Shane Beamer was the last kid to get picked for dodgeball the entire time he was growing up. Because he's the fucking goofy kid standing off in the corner, picking his nose and eating it. That's who Shane Beamer is. Okay? And that's got nothing to do with his coaching ability or hell. I think he's a good fit at South Carolina for that reason alone. I don't think Shane Beamer should be fired. It's not Shane Beamer's fault South Carolina's a terrible fucking team and a terrible fucking program. They always have been, and they always will be. That's not Shane Beamer's fault. It's a perfect fit at South Carolina. Shane Beamer was the last kid to get picked in dodgeball the entire time he was growing up. He stands over in the corner, he picks his nose or eats his boogers. He's the last one to get picked. And the entire South Carolina football team falls into a similar category. They're like what's left of SEC caliber players after all the other teams go around and recruit who they want. So he fits in great there. He fits in great there. But I tell you what I'm willing to do. Because contrary to popular belief, I am a nice guy, okay? I'm a nice guy. So I'm willing to make South Carolina a deal. South Carolina and Georgia are supposed to play tomorrow at 3:30 in Athens, okay? Now, my suggestion would be that South Carolina finds a way to get out of this thing and just not show up. You can blame COVID if that still exists. Maybe you can find some hurricane off the coast somewhere that's approaching and for safety reasons you can't come. So you blame the rain. Since Shane Beamer loves hot dogs so much, maybe you want to blame the wang. But the hot dogs will be in Athens tomorrow, waiting to see if y'all decide to show up. So, if Shane Beamer wants to drag that bunch of last to be picked in dodgeball, booger-eating deadbeats that y'all call a football team down to Athens, Georgia tomorrow, we'll tee it up at 3:30. Georgia will be there waiting, and y'all can come get you some of this, bitch.